Let's talk about something called business email compromise, or BEC. Right now, it's one of the most significant and fastest growing fraud threats facing Namibian organizations. It's a quiet crime that happens right inside your inbox, and it's designed to exploit your single most valuable asset, trust.
And just to give you an idea of the scale we're dealing with, it's staggering. In 2024 alone, public advisories confirmed that over 60% of Namibians were targeted by digital scams. So you can see, this isn't some niche problem. It's a mainstream risk affecting businesses of every size.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the threat specifically in Namibia. Then we'll see exactly how these fraudsters exploit trust. And we'll understand our own unique local vulnerabilities. We'll even look at some real-world cases before covering the most effective ways to prevent this and what to do if it happens to you.
Right. First things first, let's get a clear picture of what we're truly up against and the kind of financial damage it's causing right here at home. Now, the crucial thing to grasp here is that BEC isn't a technical hack in the way you might think. It doesn't rely on complicated viruses. No, this is all about sophisticated deception. It's a form of social engineering that targets people and processes, preying on our natural instinct to trust our colleagues and our suppliers. And the financial consequences? Well, they're severe. Between 2024 and 2025, Namibia's Financial Intelligence Center confirmed that nearly 97 million Namibian dollars were frozen as suspected proceeds of fraud, and a huge portion of that is directly linked to schemes just like BEC.
So, how do they actually do it? How do these criminals operate? Well, they typically use one of three very common schemes to get inside and exploit the trust within Namibian organizations. The first one is called executive impersonation. Imagine this. A fraudster spoofs an email address so it looks like it's coming from the CEO or a senior director. They'll invent a sense of extreme urgency, maybe talking about a secret deal or a cross-border settlement to pressure a finance officer into making a big payment. No questions asked. This next method. This is the one we see most often in Namibia. It's incredibly effective. The attackers get into a legitimate email conversation with a supplier. They wait for an invoice to be sent, and then they just send a follow-up email from a nearly identical address with their updated banking details. The payment is then sent straight to them.
And the third major method involves compromising a real email account. Criminals will use phishing tactics, things like fake NAMR tax reminders or bank verification notices, to steal an employee's password. Once they're inside, they can send fraudulent instructions from a legitimate, trusted account, which makes the deception almost impossible to spot. Now, this all raises a really important question. Why are Namibian businesses, and particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, such attractive targets? Well, the answer lies in a specific set of local vulnerabilities that fraudsters have become very, very good at exploiting. And here are the core issues. There's a huge reliance on email for critical payment instructions, and honestly, many businesses just haven't implemented basic controls like multi-factor authentication. Culturally, there can be a reluctance to challenge a senior figure's request. And in smaller teams, it's often one person handling the entire payment process, which creates a massive control gap. To make this all feel a bit more real, let's look at two anonymized but very true Namibian cases. They really demonstrate the devastating financial impact these vulnerabilities can have. In this first case, a construction firm lost 1.2 million Namibian dollars. An attacker simply intercepted an email thread with a known supplier and sent a fraudulent invoice. The amount was right, the language was familiar, but the bank details were different. The root cause? Something as simple as not having a callback protocol to verify the change. In the second case, a private school was defrauded of $190,000. An email that looked like it came from the principal instructed the bursar to urgently pay a contractor. The domain was a fake, but that deference to authority meant the payment was just pushed through without a second look. Okay, so we've seen the threat. Now, let's shift our focus to empowerment, because the good news is that preventing the vast majority of these attacks doesn't require a huge budget. It just requires implementing some simple, robust internal controls. Here is your 5-step defense plan. Number 1, always verify banking changes with a phone call to a number you already have on file. 2, enforce multi-factor authentication. It adds a critical security layer. 3, segregate duties. Have one person prepare a payment and a different person approve it. 4. Configure your email domain protections to make it harder for fraudsters to spoof you. And finally, number 5, train the teams that are most targeted: finance, admin, and procurement. I really want to stress this point. Robust security isn't just for large corporations. These controls are simple, they're practical, and they're cost-effective, which makes them absolutely achievable for any Namibian SME.
But what if the worst happens? If you suspect you've been attacked, you have to act immediately. There is a clear action plan to follow, and it all revolves around one key message that we need to remember.
Your very first action, and I mean within minutes, is to contact your bank to try and recall the funds. Stolen money often leaves Namibia in under 14 minutes. Then you notify the Namibian Police Commercial Crime Unit and submit a suspicious transaction report to the FIC. Internally, you preserve all the email evidence, reset credentials, and get a qualified fraud examiner involved to manage the investigation.
And this brings us to what is really the most important takeaway from all of this. Business email compromise is not a technology problem at its core. It is a human problem. It exploits our processes, our assumptions, and our trust. And that's exactly why the most effective solutions are human-centric controls. The path forward is clear. You need to strengthen your internal controls to build resilience. You train your teams so that they become your strongest line of defense. You protect your organization from the inside out. Ultimately, with the right controls in place, every single Namibian organization can defend itself against this threat. The only question that remains is this: is yours prepared?